What if you could instantly X-ray anyone you meet, understanding their deepest personality, their strengths, their weaknesses, just by how they look? Modern science reveals this isn't fiction. The truth is, the fundamental traits of every individual are indelibly stamped in their body, head, face, and hands. This hidden science is your key to navigating a world where most fail at human connection. You are about to unlock the power to truly understand yourself and others. Welcome to Nocturnal Knowledge. Let's begin.
The X-ray of human nature, external indicators. What if who we really are, our core personality and what drives us, isn't hidden at all? Instead, it's right there for everyone to see. This book says science has proven this. It claims the fundamental traits of every individual are indelibly stamped in the shape of his body, head, face, and hands. An X-ray by which you can read the characteristics of any person on sight. Basically, your body is like an X-ray showing your personality. This isn't just a quick idea, it's a deep truth. Your body and mind are really connected. The book says whatever affects one affects the other. Think about it. A quick thought can change your face muscles. But what's even crazier is how repeating certain thoughts and feelings changes your body over time, leaving lasting signs. Like a jaw. If someone spends their life fighting, physically or with words, their jaw can actually become set permanently. A little more upward and outward, a little more like that of the bulldog. And these physical things that people pick up, like stories from their ancestors' struggles, can even pass on to their kids. It's pretty wild. This idea applies to all living things. You can tell a gentle Saint Bernard from a feisty terrier just by looking at their shape, size, and structure. It's the same for people. This book says their outside look invariably indicates internal nature. Basically, what you see on the outside tells you about what's on the inside. It's a real thing. So why is any of this important for you? Well, the authors put it simply. The most essential thing in the world to any individual is to understand himself. The next is to understand the other fellow. They say life is largely a problem of running your own car as it was built to be run, plus getting along with the other drivers on the highway. If you learn this stuff, you'll figure out which type of car you are. You'll also learn how to deal with other people better. This kind of understanding is vital to happiness and success. It helps you have an easier time, connect better with others, and feel more complete in life. Evolution, adaptation, and modern human relations. When we try to be happy and successful, we find out something basic about life. It's a rule for everything alive. The authors put it clearly. The greatest problem facing any organism is successful reaction to its environment. This just means you need to fit in with your world, at work, with friends, in your marriage. Think about how evolution went. Our ancestors had huge problems from nature. Bad weather, being hungry, scary wild animals. To live, they needed sharp senses, fast reactions, and pure strength. Life was a really tough physical fight. But then something big happened. Civilization. We took control of those physical threats. We built amazing cities, connected oceans, and made light at night. We beat nature. But then we found ourselves in a new, much trickier world. The authors put it well. In building up this stupendous superstructure of modern civilization, man has brought into being a society so intricate and complex that he now faces the new environmental problem of human relationships. Basically, we made society so complicated that our main problem is now other people. So here's the thing. Today, our environmental problem consists largely of the other fellow. And get this, The crazy, kind of sad result is that 99 lives out of every 100 are comparative failures. Why? Not because people aren't smart, or don't try, or don't have stuff. It's because they can't handle this new, complicated world of dealing with other people. We just haven't figured out how to get along. So, this is super important for you to live a good life. The authors are totally sure that only those who learn to adapt themselves to their fellows can win great or lasting rewards. It's not just about being nice. It's about figuring out how to really succeed today.
The 5 biological types, our human alphabet. We've talked about how hard human relationships can be, and how we really need to get along with other people to do well in life. But how do we actually do that? People often seem like such a mystery. How do we even start to understand them when everyone feels so different? This is where human analysis comes in. It shows us something pretty amazing and super useful. It says that people aren't just a confusing mix of billions of unique individuals that nobody can figure out. Instead, humanity is actually grouped, for the first time, into 5 types according to his biological evolution. You can think of it like our basic human alphabet. So, each of us is born with one of 5 main body systems, like the one for digestion, blood flow, muscles, bones, or nerves, that's more highly developed, larger, and better equipped than the others. This natural difference is the main reason why we're all unique. Our strongest traits, the stuff that makes you you, agree infallibly with whichever one of the 5 systems predominates in him. To put it simply, science calls these the fat people, the florid people, the muscular people, the bony people, and the mental people. And here's the really important part. You're born with these types, and they pretty much don't change. The authors say that no manner of training, education, environment, or experience will alter the predominance of this system, nor prevent its dictating his likes, dislikes, and most of his reactions. Think of it like 5 different makes of human cars. A Ford doesn't turn into a Pierce Arrow, right? And just like that, a human being never changes his type. You can change someone a bit, train them, polish them up, or control them, but their basic type stays. This deep understanding is our key. It's like how you cannot understand the meaning of a word until you know the letters that go into the makeup of that word. In the same way, you can't really get people or understand all the complex ways they combine every day unless you first learn about these 5 clear basic types. They are literally your basic alphabet for understanding people just by looking at them. Mastering the science, the 4 C's. Okay, so you've got the basics for understanding people just by looking at them. But just knowing the letters isn't enough, right? To really read people, to see what their faces and actions tell you, and to understand what all those signals together mean, you need a plan. The authors give us 4 key steps, 4 C's, to get good at this. First, you need to read concentratedly. This isn't just quickly looking over stuff. It means really thinking about what you read. Let it sink in deep. You want these ideas to stick with you, so you actually think about them and process them. Next, when you start using this knowledge on real people, you need to observe carefully. Look, but don't jump to conclusions. The authors warn us that we humans have a great way of twisting facts to fit our conclusion as soon as we have made one. Don't be like the person who ran too far back to jump a ditch and then had no energy left to actually leap. Get all the facts first before you make up your mind. Then you can decide confidently. After you studied hard and watched carefully, trust what you think. Be sure you're right and then go ahead. This strong belief, because you did your homework, will make you understand things better and push you to keep doing those first 2 steps. And finally, to really get good at this, you have to practice constantly. Think practice makes perfect.
Everyone you meet, at home, at work, with friends, even strangers, is a chance to get better. Remember, a tool you never took out of the garage would be of no value to you. This whole system only truly works when you actually use it. It's how you learn to speak the language of human nature.
Physicality and core nature, comfort and pleasure. So, you're getting pretty good at understanding people. And as we learn more, let's look at the first kind of person who really loves life's simple yet most important pleasures more than anyone else. This kind of person is called the alimentive type, or as the writers put it, the enjoyer. Picture someone who just looks round all over. Their body is soft, with a surprising amount of flesh over small bones. The book says it's like fat rolls away from his elbows, wrists, knees, and shoulders. You might even see something odd, like the 200-pound woman had tiny feet. Their face often looks like a full moon, maybe with a double or triple chin, giving them what people call a baby face. Everything about them seems round hands with dimples, round fingers, curvy thighs, big calves. If you see lots of curves like this, you're probably looking at an alimentive type. And how they look on the outside usually tells you a lot about how they are on the inside. So, why do they look this way? Deep down, they're driven by a love for food and eating. They really live to eat. And not just anything, but lots of good, rich food. Always having a full stomach makes them super happy, optimistic, and easygoing. They just don't take things too seriously. They naturally avoid worrying or arguing, preferring to cruise through life calmly. Their goal is simple: personal enjoyment. They want comfort and nice things everywhere. Think big armchairs and soft beds. Alimentives chase after pleasure, finding joy in anything that makes them feel good and helps them live an easy, happy life. Honestly, this type is just built for joy.
Lifestyle and social dynamics. It's a joy to see. This need for comfort and ease really shapes their whole life, from how they walk to who they hang out with. If you see an alimentive, you'll immediately notice their slow, rolling movements. They have a certain grace, like they're just avoiding rushing anything. Our text says they are easeful in their actions, make as few moves as possible, and thereby lend an air of restfulness wherever they go. It's like their calm inside shows up in how they move. It's tough to move a bigger body quickly, so they naturally take it easy. They want comfort in everything they do. For them, clothes aren't about following strict fashion, but about feeling free. You'll often see them in baggy trousers, creased sleeves, soft collars, and soft cuffs. Comfort is truly one of the very first aims of this type. They'll even wear old shoes so they don't have to break in new ones. And when it's cold, you'll spot an alimentive by their layers, because they get cold super easily. They just naturally look for warmth, like plush armchairs, big couches, and cozy homes instead of anything stiff. When it comes to being social, alimentives really shine. They're just the most popular type, often called the life of the party. Everyone, hosts and guests, loves having them around. Their good mood spreads, and they're easy to get along with. They hang out with easygoing, laid-back people, those homey souls who set a good table and excel in the art of third and fourth helpings. Sharing food is a big deal for them, of course. And if there's a disagreement or fight, their unspoken rule is never to take anything too seriously. They avoid trouble and hold few grudges because honestly, disliking someone too much just takes too much energy. It doesn't fit their peaceful personality. For fun, they like things that are simple and don't take much effort. They love comedy, like a Charlie Chaplin movie or a Max Sennett slapstick. They'll laugh like 4-year-olds at it. They like melodic music, think love songs, upbeat tunes, anything with a comfy swing. Movies, what our authors call easy entertainment, are their preferred theater. They give them different things to watch without having to think too hard. You can drop in anytime. There is no waiting for the show to start. Really, the pure alimentive has been rightly called the baby of the race. That's a pretty smart observation. Like babies, they just want fun and simple activities. Give them 3 squares a day and plenty of sleep in a comfortable bed, and they'll be happy and good-humored 365 days a year.
Professional and domestic strengths and weaknesses. The last part said the alimentive was like the baby of the race, someone who just wants simple fun and comfort. But this isn't just about relaxing. It really affects everything they do, like their job and their home life. At work, they're really good at getting people to like them. This is a huge plus. As the text says, one average-minded fat man will make more customers than a dozen brilliant thinkers. They're naturally good with people, so they're great at being bosses or managers. They're good at getting others to work because they don't like doing hard stuff themselves. At home, they really love their space and are good at providing. They'll often stretch what they have to make sure their family is comfortable. As parents, they're pretty soft. They tend to spoil their kids and treat them more like playmates. That's cute, but it can cause problems later. But this love for an easy life also has downsides. They're often lazy, indulge themselves, and really dislike anything hard. So, they're clever at dodging responsibility. Their love for food often turns into overeating, which is risky. Things like diabetes and apoplexy can happen. They literally eat their way to the grave. Also, they just don't bother with big ideas, theories, or movements for change. They see those as things for faddists, fanatics, and fools. They'd rather stick to what's real, comfy, and simple. It's a really interesting way to be, right? Actionable advice for interaction and growth. Okay, so this is a pretty interesting type of person, right? But it's not just about knowing what makes them tick or what problems they might have. It's also about figuring out how to get along with them, help them grow, and, most importantly, how to pick them out in a crowd. Socially, it's really easy to get the alimentive on your side. Just feed him. Give him comfortable chairs, the largest you have, and definitely don't drag him into long discussions of any kind. Seriously, whatever you do, don't tell him your troubles. This person already has enough on their plate with their own issues, and hearing yours just makes them uncomfortable. So keep chats light. Talk about concrete personal things and events like the best places to eat and the best shows of the week. Don't get too deep, they just like what's real and comfy. When it comes to work, know what they're good at and adjust. Don't give them hard manual tasks, that just won't work well. Instead, give them jobs that don't need a lot of physical effort, where their friendly nature can really stand out. But you do need to be firm. Hold him strictly to the keeping of his records, reports, and working hours. If you're trying to make a deal, keep him to his word, and don't let him jolly you into relinquishing what is rightfully yours. They're nice, but they love taking it easy, so you need clear rules. Now, for alimentives themselves to feel more satisfied, they need to use more of his mental powers to lessen the manual work he so dislikes. The key is to develop an interest in the more mature side of the world, basically to push past what's just comfortable right now. They really need to avoid letting down, soft snaps, and temptations to evade responsibility. Getting better means actively fighting against their natural urge to take it easy. So, how do you know an alimentive when you see one? Look for these clear signs: rounded out lines, immature features, and dimpled hands. These are the main ways to tell, listed from most to least important. It's a clear giveaway for this interesting kind of person. Physicality and core nature, excitement and expression. But what if someone's body runs on different fuel? What if, instead of just wanting to be comfy and relaxed, a person is powered by pure excitement and a need to express themselves? So,
let's talk about the thoracic type, or as we like to call them, the thriller. These are people whose hearts and lungs are super developed. You can really see this in their body shape. You'll notice they look pretty flexible, like they're strong and can bounce back easily. A pure thoracic often has a really colorful face. It gets red and then back to normal with every feeling. It's not just on the surface. It shows their blood system is strong because blood rushes to their face quickly. You'll often hear them say, with a little smile, "I flush at every little thing." Their body shape is unique, a really high chest, which means bigger lungs, and often a long waist to make room for those powerful organs. They usually hold their head high, which can make them seem noble. Their face is often called kite-shaped, widest at the cheekbones, then getting narrower up and down. They have a well-built nose, long and high-bridged, which helps with all that breathing. And check out their hands and feet, pointed hands with thin and sensitive fingers and narrow, high-arched feet. They move with a lot of energy, super quick and nimble. They have a distinct, springy step when they walk, moving easily and gracefully. Because of how they're built, they're naturally full of energy and have really sharp senses. Everything hits them harder and faster than it does other people. They're definitely the high-strung type, with nerves like tight violin strings. They're known for being temperamental, spontaneous, and they get excited fast, but also calm down just as quickly. They're like human fireflies, bright and intense for a moment, then calm again. In fact, chances are they'll be totally over whatever happened by lunchtime and might even ask you to hang out. The thoracic lives for excitement and new things. They're always looking for new worlds to conquer and find boredom almost impossible to deal with. So what really makes these energetic people tick? They deeply want approval, admiration, and to stand out. They're always on stage, whether they realize it or not. They constantly want attention, always on dress parade, ready to charm, impress, and shine. Lifestyle and expressive social dynamics. Thoracic people always seem like they're on a stage. They move so smoothly, never tripping, always light on their feet. Everything they do just looks easy and graceful. Their world is super vivid. They notice everything really fast, all the sights, sounds, and smells. It's like they get more out of every moment than anyone else, feeling both intense joy and deep disappointment. When they talk, it's a real performance. People often say they're amazing conversationalists. They use such lively words that you can practically see and feel what they're describing. And it's no surprise that many have truly beautiful voices with lots of different tones that pull you in. They're really open, not like people who keep things to themselves. They don't hide their plans or how they feel. They're more upfront and honest than anyone about their own life, which helps them make friends because you can tell they're genuine. How they dress is also a big deal to them. They're often the best dressed people in the room. They just have a natural eye for colors and how clothes fit. They love to stand out, always looking for that perfect final touch. Because they're so sensitive, they're super aware of how they look, sometimes even picking shiny, uncomfortable shoes just for the style. When it comes to love, thoracic types are a whirlwind. They often fall in love right away and are incredibly flirty. But they also get bored fast with a suit, a town, or even a person. They experience everything so fully and quickly, then they're ready for the next thing. They just live for excitement and new experiences. Being bored is almost unbearable for them. For these people, life is one big, thrilling adventure.
Professional and domestic strengths, weaknesses. So, this thoracic type, always looking for new things and loving excitement, really shows it everywhere. I mean, at work and at home especially. They're super charming and full of energy, but also kind of restless. At work, thoracics are awesome at jobs where they talk to people and need to be lively. They're just a good mixer. People are naturally drawn to them. Their charm is a big deal, especially since they often have great style and are expressive. They do really well where their personality can shine, like acting, politics, advertising, or sales. They're natural entertainers, good at getting attention and approval. And honestly, the spotlight appeals more to this type than to others because it goes further toward gratifying his desire for approbation. They really thrive on that admiration and instant reaction. At home, that same lively energy means they're great to entertain and please his own family. They're loving and give a lot, making family life interesting and dynamic. And even though they can be fiery, they forgive really fast. Their temper is like a flash in the pan or red-hot furiness. It goes away super quick. It just flares up, then it's gone. So no holding grudges. They truly get over it just as they get over everything else. But this intense side also has its downsides. That quick temper, even if it doesn't last, can definitely cause problems at home. They're impulsive and get overexcited, which often makes them a bit irresponsible. Especially with money, they tend to live beyond their means. The book even says their own irresponsibility makes it difficult for them to save. And all that fancy entertaining can really cost the thoracic household dear. As for work, thoracics can't stand boring routine jobs. They soon tire of the same. Could be a task, a role, or even a place. So they avoid every line of work which has to be done the same way day in and day out. Working alone is tough for them too. They really need to connect with people and get feedback. For a thoracic, life has to be one big thrilling adventure, or it's just not living.
Actionable advice for interaction and growth. Thoracics love excitement and get bored fast. They really need to feel connected to people and for others to respond to them. So how do we best get along with them at work and in our personal lives to make things go smoothly? When you're with them socially, focus on their senses. Give them nice places to be. Think bright colors, cool textures, or new decorations. They like new things and beauty, and they get bored quickly even if they loved something a lot at first. Get them to talk, to share their ideas, and most importantly, actually respond to what they say. When you really listen, it helps them express themselves. And always remember to praise them when they deserve it. They really want approval. A real compliment given right away can make you good friends for life. At work, thoracics are great at mingling and have a strong charm. Use this charm by putting them in jobs where they meet people face to face. Their personality can actually bring in business. If you need them to commit to something, get them to sign now, or it probably won't happen. They're impulsive, so they either do it fast or not at all. It's important not to make them stick to a routine. Doing the same thing every day really gets to them. They find it almost unbearable. Give them different tasks, challenges, and the freedom to go after exciting things. For their own good, thoracics should try to make fewer but better decisions. They're naturally quick, which often means acting on impulse. So learning to slow down, finish what they start, and not waste energy on extra words and actions will help them use their huge energy better. It's like learning to stay on the main road instead of always checking out every little side path. How can you tell if someone is a thoracic? Look for a flushed complexion, a high chest, and a long waist. These are key signs. These clues point to the thriller, someone with tons of energy and charm in everything they do.
So, while the thoracic type brings a lot of energy and charm, always spontaneous, there's another main kind of person. They're all about doing things. If the thriller just enjoys life, the muscular type actually builds it. You know these people as the worker, or the muscular type. You'll spot them because they just look really solid. Not soft, not just tough,
They have a body that's well upholstered with firm meat. Their muscles are large and firm, you can clearly see them. They're literally built on the square, with wide, strong shoulders and a thick neck that shows their power. Their face often has a square jaw, which just tells you they're determined. And their hands? They have spatulate fingers, those square, paddle-shaped tips that are perfect for grabbing and working with things. These folks are born workers. They love the strenuous life and just like being active for its own sake. They're super practical. They'll always ask, will it work? For them, getting things done efficiently is key. And if you make them mad, they're not going to beat around the bush. Their pugnacity comes out. They'll have it out with you directly instead of avoiding the problem. But they also have this really catching excitement, the kind that, like Emerson said, does all things. It just pushes them forward with a lot of drive. What really drives them is getting stuff done and making sure they have life's necessities. They achieve this through pure, steady effort. They truly put their heart and soul into every task. They don't do anything halfway. The muscular type is like the engine of the world, turning ideas into real things, one strong action at a time.
Lifestyle and industrious social dynamics. If the muscular type is like the engine of the world, turning ideas into real things with strong, focused action, then their whole life shows this huge drive. Think about it. They don't just move, they move with force, really making things happen. They even treat small tasks like they're super important. You'll probably hear him coming because their steps are heavy and strong. It really shows how much physical presence they have. And their voice? People often call it a steam calliope voice. They speak with the same strength they put into everything. It's just hard for them to speak softly, and it shows their natural power. But what really makes them who they are day to day is how much they hate being idle. The book says, inertness irks him. If you make a muscular person sit still, it's like you're destroying them. They just can't bear to be doing nothing. They always need to be up and doing, feeling like they're getting stuff done. For them, work isn't a chore, it's second nature. They actually like working just for its own sake. It's free time that actually bores them, which is surprising. That's why they're some of the most dependable and hardworking people you'll meet. When it comes to people, they're really down to earth. They're the most democratic of all the types, meaning they treat everyone the same, no matter their status. Their hobby seems to be just humanness. They like plain folks like himself and are known for snubbing the snobs. They love taking him down a peg if someone acts superior. They also have the strong sense of right and wrong. They glory in fighting for the downtrodden and will really defend the underdog. So they're often on the warpath and ready to have it out directly if they get mad. They might even lose friends because their anger doesn't fade fast. But for people they care about, they're super generous. If a muscular person likes you, they are the most abandoned in their generosity of all the types. They'll really go the limit with their money, time, and how excited they are to help. Just know this though, disappoint him in anything he considers vital, and he does not overlook it easily. They don't forgive big betrayals quickly. Their tastes are pretty simple, just like them. When it comes to food, it's meat and potatoes for them. Lots of plain, solid meals. Their habits are super simple. They like to go to bed early, working hard, and getting real stuff done. For fun, they're not into anything silly. They enjoy serious plays about everyday life, band music with a strong beat, and they like violent sports like football and boxing. Basically, it's all about action, being direct, and getting involved in something real. This makes the muscular type a strong, steady force and super important for the world we live in.
Professional and domestic strengths and weaknesses. You see this muscular type most clearly in how they handle work and home life. At work, they're a huge asset. They're super efficient and willing to work hard and long, which are the greatest business assets of this type. They're often like born mechanics and inventors, really good with their hands, building and fixing and making things better. But surprisingly, Some muscular types are also great speakers, called the orator. With their strong voice and passion, especially if they're smart, they can easily get juries, groups, or crowds on their side. They do this with their stentorian tones and direct way of speaking. At home, that same practical, driven energy makes them really strong. They plan things out for their family, like they'll save for their kids' education years in advance instead of spending money on random stuff. It's practical protection for the future. They teach their kids to be useful at an early age. They lead by example, showing them how to be independent. And they usually don't spoil their kids. But even with all that, they have their downsides. In business, they can be a problem because they get pugnacious over trifles. The muscular has to fight out every issue, even if it means losing a deal while everyone else moves on. At home, this fighting can turn into cruel, angry words. These words really hurt and can stick around for a long time, unlike people who forgive easily. Another weakness is they tend to overwork, so they often give up their social life for their job. And some things really get under their skin. They can't stand being confined or stuck. They get restless, nervous, and ill when confined or compelled to be idle. No surprise, sitting still for work is terrible for them. They also hate situations requiring pretense, basically fake stuff. The muscular is straight from the shoulder. They don't like furbelows or anything superficial. They just want to get to the point. So knowing all this helps you understand them and appreciate what they do. It also helps you handle them better.
Actionable advice for interaction and growth. Okay, so we've talked about what muscular people are like and how to deal with their strong presence. Now, the big question: how do you actually connect with these driven individuals, both socially and in the busy world of business? It really just comes down to knowing what makes them tick. When you're dealing with the muscular person socially, it's pretty simple to get them to like you. Don't put on airs, the authors advise, nor expect him to. Be straightforward and genuine with him if you would win him. Remember, they don't like anything fancy or fake. They always want things to be direct. So just be yourself. At work, their directness means they want things done efficiently and honestly. He is intensely resentful of the man who tries to put anything over on him and demands efficiency. If you promise something, see to it that you deliver the goods and for the price stated. Muscular people are serious, and they expect you to be too. When you give them tasks, pick jobs where they can actually do things. They're the world's workers, built to build and get stuff done. And when they do a great job, be quick to reward merit, because they put in a ton of effort. Now, for muscular people themselves, growing means they need to adjust some of their strong habits. They should aim at taking more frequent vacations, relaxing each day, and curbing his pugnacity, because their tendency to overwork and fight every issue can actually cause problems for them. Also, they should avoid superficial and quarrelsome people, all situations requiring pretense, and everything that confines and restricts his physical activity. So, how do you spot one of these folks? Their chief distinguishing marks, in the order of their importance, are large, firm muscles, a square jaw, and square hands. Look for these physical signs, and you'll start to understand what the worker is all about.
Physicality and core nature. Stability and persistence. So we just talked about the worker type with their strong muscles. Now let's look at a different kind of strength. Meet the osseous type, also called the stair. Think about how solid the ground is. This type has bones that are more developed than anything else in their body. It's like who they are is built to last, to stay strong no matter what. How can you tell who these people are? Look for signs of someone who can take a lot. They often look raw-boned. Their joints stick out like at their ankles, wrists, knuckles, and elbows.
It makes them look tough. They're often tall and thin. They just look rigid and steady. Their faces and hands are usually long, and their fingers are often called knotty because their joints are big. This isn't just how they look either. It shows you how they are on the inside. The main thing about the osseous type is they don't budge. They are super stable, very independent, and they don't like change or being told what to do. Because of this, they're stoic, keep to themselves, and have a lot of self-control. They're naturally calm, organized, and careful. They really believe in a place for everything and everything in its place. What drives them is a strong need to stick to their principles, hold on to their beliefs, and deal with tough times even for years. People famously say about this type, died for a cause. They're basically the martyr of the ages. They can face being left out, teased, and criticized with amazing strength. Opposition just makes them more determined. They act like society's balance, stopping things from changing too fast. And even if they eventually give in, it takes a long, long time. They make sure the important stuff sticks around. Lifestyle and unchanging social dynamics. So this really solid, unchanging side of them, this idea that they just don't budge, it actually defines their daily life in a cool way. We've talked about how they don't change much in big social stuff, but now let's see how this solid nature affects their personal lives. We'll look at their usual lifestyle and how they deal with people, which can be pretty consistent. You see, osseous types move carefully. The book says they walk in a formal, almost stiff way. They don't rush, and they don't have that sudden burst of energy other types might. They don't move around much when they talk, they often don't say much, and they barely use their hands. There's a quiet power about them. Every move, every word feels thought out. They don't waste energy on extra stuff. This careful way they do things isn't just how they look, it shows how they think. They're really set in their ways. They don't easily change or adapt like some people. It's super hard for them to get used to new people or places fast. It's not just them being stubborn, but they really need things to stay the same. They have what people call a one-track mind. They focus super hard on one thing, so they're born specialists. They hate juggling lots of tasks. They'd rather focus all their attention on one thing and finish it perfectly. They stick to one path and rarely change it, which is pretty powerful. But here's a wild thing about osseous types. They feel things really deeply, even if they don't show it much. And they don't let go. If someone wrongs them, they just don't forgive. They never forgive or forget. They can hold grudges for years, seriously. The book calls them the rock-bound Puritan type, meaning once they make up their mind, it's like a stone. It won't move. Unlike other types who might get mad fast then forget it, their anger just stays, like it turns into rock. Imagine holding on to something like that for so long. It's a heavy thing. This same consistent way of being shows up in how they handle their stuff, especially money. They tend to save things. They're super careful with money, almost like a tightwad, you know? But it's not because they're cheap. They just plan ahead and really need to feel secure. They pay their bills promptly and plan ahead super carefully. They can really see what's coming. They hate surprises and emergencies. They just want things to be certain. And here's the cool part. Because they're so systematic and steady, don't get too emotional, and don't care about fast changes, they actually live the longest of all the types. So being steady is their biggest strength. It helps them last a long time. Professional and domestic strengths and weaknesses. So, their solid, unmoving nature, the one that makes them last so long, isn't just some small thing. No, it's the main foundation for everything in their work and home life. This gives them huge strengths, but also, as you'd guess, some pretty big problems. At work, osseous types are super reliable. Seriously, they keep their word, they're organized, and they follow systems. These traits make them the most dependable people out there. They're just born specialists. They'll say, "This one thing I do," and then they focus intensely until they've mastered it, leaving everyone else behind. Think of early pioneers who built lives in wild places, or the smart people who created huge financial companies. These types are amazing at specific tasks and can handle tough times.
It's not just grit, it's because they're built for endurance. They can live through almost anything and still come out on top. They're the real stayers. They can take on the toughest jobs, like reaching the North Pole or spending years as missionaries in remote areas. It's not about a quick thrill for them. It's about sticking to their purpose no matter what. At home, that same steady nature means they're incredibly loyal. Their constancy and faithfulness are the main things in their family life. They might not show a lot of affection openly because words don't come easily to them. They just have a hard time showing affection or getting super emotional. But their love runs really deep and never changes. They plan everything carefully, giving their families practical protection for the future. They make plans far into the future with amazing clarity. As parents, they're super practical. They're not soft like the Alimentives or moody with their kids like the Thoracics. Instead, they teach their children early how to work and make sure they understand how important it is to be ready for anything. But, just like with any strength, there are downsides. This deep-seated, unmoving nature can come across as plain old stubbornness and obstinacy. They stick rigidly to their certain way of doing things, and that can be really annoying. People often see their emotions as cold. They just don't have a lot of passion or enthusiasm, which makes it hard for them to impress people easily. They're careful with money, so some might call them tightwads. But this actually comes from a deep fear of the future, not just greed. They save diligently for that rainy day that most other people don't even think about. These types can also be a bit bossy. They tend to dominate and often to domineer their partner and family. At work, they don't like to socialize much and struggle to adapt to clients. That can be a real problem. Socially, they really avoid crowds, surprises, and making quick decisions. They hate being rushed. They'd rather work alone and can't stand anyone interference or interruption or superintendence of other people. If you try to hurry an Osseous or tell them what to do, you'll hit a brick wall. They are the againster, the person who will automatically take the opposite side. It's not a sudden outburst, but a rock-solid determination.
Actionable advice for interaction and growth. The Osseous person is super stubborn, always pushing back. That might seem tough at first, but if you get that he's really set in his ways, you can actually connect with him instead of fighting him. Knowing this helps you deal with him smarter. When you're with an Osseous, remember to keep things simple and don't get in his way. The advice is clear. Let him do what he wants to do. Don't try to push or rush an Osseous. It's like trying to speed up a glacier. Totally pointless and just frustrates everyone. Just accept that he's formal and quiet. He's not being rude, that's just how he is. He doesn't do big, showy talks. He likes realness and getting straight to the point. So don't talk about big, abstract ideas. Talk about facts and specific things. Once he trusts you, his loyalty is super strong, like a rock. A friendship with him lasts forever. At work, this stubbornness actually becomes his biggest strength. If you hire an Osseous or work with one, here's what to know. Give him a job and then just let him do it his way. This is super important. If you keep telling him what to do or try to push him, he'll just resist. Instead, appreciate how careful and organized he is. Trust him and tell him you value how dependable he is, because once he says he'll do something, he finishes it. He really sticks to his word, more than most people. He's the specialist, the one who stays put and gets things done with pure willpower. If an Osseous wants to grow personally, he needs to really work against some of these natural habits. Our advice is try to be more flexible with people and your surroundings. So he should actively look for new experiences and different viewpoints. He needs to try to care more about others and actually show it, which helps him open up. He should avoid just being alone and having only a few interests. That just makes him even less flexible and more emotionally distant. Being truly curious about things outside his comfort zone and talking to different kinds of people can open up new ways to connect. It will help him see things differently and become a bit softer. So, how do you spot this stayer type just by looking, without him saying a word? Look for these clear physical signs. First,
You'll see he has pretty big bones for his body. He looks strong and rugged, like he's made of stone. His joints stick out, like his knuckles, wrists, and elbows are really noticeable. And he usually has a long face. It often looks serious, steady, and quietly determined. These are the clear signs of someone built to last, a real stayer who doesn't change much.
Physicality and core nature, intellect and ideas. Okay, so we've talked about the stayer, the type who's super grounded and strong. Now, let's switch gears to someone almost completely different. This person seems to live more in their head than in the real world. It's like going from a really solid place to one made purely of ideas. This brings us to the last pure type, the cerebral. We just call them the thinker. For them, it's all about the mind. Ideas are what matter most, and thinking deeply is their top skill. Our book says cerebrals are folks whose nervous system is more highly developed than any other. So their brain, the cerebrum, is pretty much the main hub of who they are. So how do you spot a thinker? The book says they often have a proportionately large head for the body. It's usually on a smaller, even thin frame. It's like nature put all the energy into their brain. You'll often see a high forehead and a face that narrows down, almost triangular. This hints at how much they focus on thinking. Their hands are thin and delicate, with really smooth fingers, not much muscle or noticeable bones. Because they're not physically strong, the authors say they're deficient in horsepower. They're better off studying quietly than doing anything too physical. What really makes the thinker different is their main drive, cerebration. They just love to think, purely for the sake of it. The text even says he will sit by the hour or by the day, thinking out endless ultimates for the sheer pleasure it gives him. They love to meditate, dream, and visualize things. They're the ultimate dreamers, often born ahead of their time. Their minds come up with ideas for the future that most of us can't even imagine yet. They're usually pretty intellectual, sensitive, modest, quiet, unselfish, and peace-loving. Just generally well-mannered. They simply lack pugnacity, meaning they'd rather have peace than a fight. They're always driven to learn, explore ideas, and understand complex concepts. Thinkers are like the world's natural pathfinders. They figure out new ways of thinking that people will use for a long, long time. As our text reminds us, everything accomplished starts with the dream of it. While other people are busy doing things, they're busy dreaming. And even if those dreams are laughed at first, they're often where all new progress comes from. They're really amazing people. Their inner world is much richer than what you might see on the outside.
Lifestyle and intellectual social dynamics. This guy pretty much lives in his head. His inner world is everything to him. He loves to plan, imagine, and dream. He's always building these big air castles in his mind. It might sit for hours, even days, just thinking about everything, purely because he enjoys it. So he's a real visionary. He's often super impractical, but he's definitely ahead of his time, coming up with ideas others can barely get. He leads the way in thinking, even if he sometimes forgets the simple, practical stuff. Since he focuses inward so much, he's not big on typical social gatherings. It just feels too everyday. He really clicks with other intellectuals, folks who read, think, and write. He just ignores people he considers ignorant. He secretly looks down on anyone who lets others do their thinking for them. You won't find him looking for attention. He's naturally modest and reserved, preferring to think quietly rather than be praised in public. For him, communication often happens through writing.
He can be a terrible talker, always trying to get his thoughts just right, but that's exactly why he's such a good writer. He's also super absent-minded, often just lost in thought. Think of the professor who showed up to class in bedroom slippers. He reads all the time, a total bookworm. He's been devouring books since he was little, making him seem wise beyond his years. He's an unusual person, a quiet political reformer, and just doesn't fit in socially. Tradition means nothing to him. He secretly smiles or sneers at what he sees as old-fashioned troglodyte ideas. The material world just doesn't matter to him. He truly doesn't care about clothes, money, or what's around him. He might misplace his cash or wear mismatched clothes without a thought. That's because his real home, as the text puts it, isn't his house at all, but in his head. For him, thoughts are life's real currency. His massive inner world is way more interesting than anything happening outside. Professional and domestic strengths and weaknesses. So, looking at the cerebral, we can see how he acts at work and at home. At work, he's super valuable, a real trailblazer. His high thinking capacity isn't just a trait, it's what drives new ideas. He pushes society forward and is the brain behind important changes. The text says his best points are his thinking capacity, how progressive he is, and his unselfishness. He's the kind of person who sees what society needs way down the line, sometimes even centuries ahead. These thinkers often get mocked at first, but then everyone ends up following them. But all that deep thinking comes with its own problems. His weaknesses are usually just the flip side of his strengths. He's famously impractical, a dreamer who comes up with grand plans but often can't actually make them happen. He's not very strong physically. He's not made for tough manual labor or working heavy machines. This often means he struggles to earn enough money for his family, which is a really tough spot for someone with such big ideals. His sensitive system means he gets nervous easily, and the noise and busyness of the world can overwhelm him fast. At home, the cerebral is gentle and warm. He's tender, thoughtful, and idealistic, making him a very loving partner and parent. He cares deeply for his family. He's not as swayed by what the book calls lower instincts that can bother other people. He has high ideals for his relationships. But this same idealism and not caring much about money can cause big problems at home. He can't really create financial stability or make $1 do the work of two, as the book puts it. This can sadly break down the very family life he values so much. Professionally, the cerebral completely avoids manual work and heavy machinery. He's also not cut out to be an employer. He finds it hard to rule others or make them do things, often because he feels too much for his employees. In any kind of business, he just doesn't like its standards. This type also often gets nervous illnesses. It's like the cost of living so much in his head. It just shows that even the smartest minds need to stay connected to the real world.
Actionable advice for interaction and growth. Okay, so we know about the cerebral person. This is the thinker who often struggles with everyday things. They show us that even really smart people need to stay grounded in reality. So how should we act around them? And how can they best grow? The answers are pretty straightforward. When it comes to social stuff, the advice is simple. Don't expect him to be a social lion. This person is too caught up in ideas. He's just not made for big, noisy parties. Instead, invite him when there are just a few friendly people. And if he wanders into the library, leave him alone. He really needs his quiet time. That's when his best ideas happen, often with other smart people who enjoy thinking as much as he does. For work, this advice is super important. Know that the cerebral isn't good at heavy manual labor or jobs that need more arm work than head work. The clear message is give him mental positions or none. Don't try to use his impractical side against him.
And don't treat him like money is everything. For him, money is just a tool, something he needs for a bit, but it's not as interesting as big ideas. He really dislikes purely business ways of doing things. It's just how he is. For the cerebral person himself, growing means trying to find balance. The book tells him to build up his body and practicalize his mental processes. This means taking his big thoughts and dreams and turning them into real steps he can take. He also needs to actively avoid shallow, ignorant people because they won't challenge his mind. And it's just as important to stay away from speculation and those situations that carry him farther away from the real world. He's great at thinking, but his tough part is actually doing things on purpose. So, how do you spot this person? His main signs, listed in order of how important they are clear. The high forehead and a proportionately large head for the body. Look for this smart-looking head. If you see it, you've probably found the cerebral, someone whose mind, with a bit of understanding and care, can change the world.
But what happens, my friend, when these human types, the alimentive, thoracic, muscular, osseous, and cerebral, start to blend? We've talked about each one on its own, but honestly, most people aren't just one pure type. It's actually a lot more complex. People are a mix of these types. Think of these pure types like the human alphabet. To really understand people, you need to know these basic letters first. Then you can start to see all the different ways people combine these types. One book mentions that the average American is usually a combination of some two of these types with a third discernible in the background. This helps explain why everyone is so different, and it gives us a better way to understand them.
The law of combination, determining what and how. Hey, this deep human analysis really starts when we get how these different types mix. Just knowing the types isn't enough. We need to see how they come together to shape what someone does and how they live every day. It's not just about what types there are, it's about how they work together in one person. That shows us how complex people really are. So this brings us to something important, what the book calls the law of combination. It says that in any person, the types don't just sit there. They affect things in a certain order. First, the type that's strongest in someone decides what they do in life, their main activities. This is their main drive, the big goal that guides them. Then there's the second strongest type. This decides how they do things, the ways they'll go about what their main type is all about. It's their style, their approach, how they do that main thing. And if there's a third type you can see, it just flavors their personality. It's a small touch, not something that takes over. Let's use an example to show this. Imagine someone you'd call a cerebral muscular alimentive. What does that mix tell us? His main cerebral nature means he mostly does mental things. His life will be about thinking, planning, figuring things out, and new ideas. He's a thinker. But the second type, muscular, decides how he does things. So he thinks in a muscular way. He doesn't just theorize. His mental work will be strong, aiming for real results. Maybe he acts with great effort or powerfully puts his ideas into motion. He could be the smart architect who also checks every beam. Or the leader with big ideas who isn't afraid to get his hands dirty. And that third, less obvious alimentive type, it just flavors his personality. Maybe it means he tends to eat more than he usually would. Or he might add a friendly, comfort-loving touch to his intense mental and physical work. He's the smart person whose study is super comfy.
or the driven builder who makes sure his team gets good, long lunch breaks. Learning this order, my friend, is like getting the secret plan for why people do what they do. It turns just watching into really understanding.
Practical steps for identifying combinations. So, you've looked at the main types and the secondary ones. Now you might be asking, how do I actually see this in people around me? Well, this is where you start doing some real detective work, and it's easier than you might think. Remember, like the book says, the body and the mind of man are so closely bound together that whatever affects one affects the other. This means what you see on the outside always shows what's happening inside, if you know what to look for. To figure out these cool human combinations, we use a simple 4-step process. First, look at their body build. Are they soft and plump, alimentive? Or do they have firm, active muscles, muscular? Maybe their body looks rugged and bony, osseous. Next, check their face shape. Is it round and friendly, alimentive? A lively kite shape, thoracic. Strong and square, muscular. A firm oblong, osseous. Or delicate and triangular, like someone deep in thought, cerebral. Finally, if you're still not sure, no worries. Look at their voice, how they move and what they do. Do they talk loud and strong, or quick and musical? Are they slow and careful, or fast and full of energy? Are they stiff, or do they move smoothly? These things will help confirm which type comes first and what makes them unique. It helps you really get what you're seeing.
The science of marital happiness beyond infatuation. So, what does understanding human types really show us? What else does it tell us about marriage, which can be tricky sometimes? My friend, it actually explains how people stay happy in a marriage. It's way more than just that first rush of love. For ages, people have said that good marriages need agreement on big stuff, things like religion, politics, or money. But divorce records show something totally different from what we thought. These records say divorces don't happen because of disagreements on the big things, but because of little ones. Actually, over 70 out of 100 divorces happen because couples can't agree on how to spend their free time. It's like Albert Hubbard said, people who cannot play together will not work together long. This focus on free time comes from deep inside us. When you first fall in love, you're happy to give up what you like, but that super strong feeling eventually fades. Then, what they call the reversion to type happens. Your natural likes, preferences, and cravings come back strong. If these core preferences are too different, couples end up feeling as completely separated from his mate as though they dwelt on different planets, just like the book puts it. But there's a big idea that can help: the law of marital happiness. It's the secret to a lasting relationship. Here's what it says. Marriage should take place only between those whose first type elements are sufficiently similar for them to enjoy the same general diversions, yet whose second type elements are sufficiently dissimilar to make each strong where the other is weak. So, your main personality type should match up for shared fun and free time. This stops those small everyday fights that chip away at love. But your secondary type, that's where your strengths should be different, but in a good way. It makes you both stronger and creates a really good partnership. If you ignore how these types work together, it often leads to unhappiness. But remember, love and type are both essential. You need both for a really good marriage. The authors have a great way to explain this. People contemplating matrimony are like two autoists planning a long journey together, each driving his own car. Whether they can make the same speed, climb the same grades on high, and be well matched in general depends on the type of these two cars. But it takes love to supply the gas, the self-starters, and the spark plugs. With this idea, my friend, you have a guide to building a partnership that doesn't just last, but really works well.
Finding your true vocation, work is play.
So we've talked a lot about different human types and how they fit together in love. Well, here's something cool. The same ideas that make relationships work really well also help you find success and feel truly happy in your own life. Knowing your unique car, what kind of person you really are, helps you with relationships, but it also helps you guide your own life to amazing things. Okay, with that idea in mind, let's look at something else important, where fame, money, and what people call genius really come from. We've always heard that you have to work super hard, even if it's awful, to be successful. But the book How to Analyze People on Sight shares a different, much better idea. They pretty much say that the reserved seat in the tip-top peak of the pyramid is procured only by him who has found his real vocation. So, what is this real vocation? It's when your work fits so well with who you are, and you love it so much that it doesn't even feel like work anymore. The book says about someone like that, his work is not hard. No hours are long enough to tire his body. No thought is difficult enough to weary his mind. To him, there is no day and no night, no quitting time. He is at the business for which he was created, and all is play. Seriously, imagine that. A life where your job feels like your favorite hobby. That's not just a nice thought, it's how you really achieve great things. When you really enjoy your work, it's not just about being happy. It actually makes you super efficient, and that's often what we think of as genius. The authors are very clear about it. Efficiency does not come from duty or necessity or goading or lashing or anything under heaven save enjoyment of the thing itself. Take Thomas Edison, for example. He loved his experiments so much he'd forget to eat or sleep for days. He wasn't doing it because he had to, but because he was so curious and happy doing it. That's what brings out those hidden powers, those miraculous forces that we call genius. So your real strength isn't pushing yourself through stuff you hate. It's finding what you truly love to do. Okay, so how do you figure out what work feels like play? You just need to be honest with yourself. The book has a really important question, self-question 2, that gets right to it. Knowing the requirements of this vocation, its tasks, drudgeries, hours of work, concentration, and kind of activity, would I choose to follow them in preference to any other kind of activity, even if the income were the same? Would I do these things for the pleasure of doing them and not for the pay? If you can truly say yes, then you found it. That's your way to success, because loving what you do will make you work better, come up with tons of new ideas, and eventually help you reach the top. But here's an important warning. Don't get distracted by what you might get from the work. The book's Self-Question 1 asks us, am I considering this vocation chiefly because I would enjoy the things it would bring, such as salary, fame, social position, or change of scene? If you honestly say yes, then this job isn't for you. Think of that young woman who wanted to be a movie star. She wasn't dreaming of acting itself, but of the cool cars, nice clothes, and California life. She missed the main point. Picking a job just for what it pays or how it looks will definitely lead to disappointment down the road. Because, as the authors smartly warn, it won't bring profits to you long unless you're built for it. Real, lasting success comes when doing the work itself is what you enjoy most.
Matching types to the 3 kinds of work. So how do we find that special work, the kind that feels like its own reward? The trick is to understand one simple idea about people and jobs. Our authors, who are really smart, say there are just 3 main types of work in the world: work with people, work with things, and work with ideas. And here's the cool part. Each of us is just naturally good at one of these, and not so much at the others. So to really do our best, we need to find a job that perfectly fits us. Let's look at these ideas and see what jobs each of the 5 human types are made for. First, we have the alimentives, also called the enjoyers.
These friendly people are just born for business. They're great at selling stuff, especially things like food, clothes, or homes. Basically, anything that brings comfort, which they love. They make good bosses too. People like them, so they get things done without being pushy. But don't give an alimentive a job that's just about ideas. The book says they can't sell books well. That's because they like things they can touch and enjoy right now, not abstract thoughts. Next, let's look at the lively thoracics, also called the thrillers. They're best with people. These are the natural entertainers. They do well anywhere they can be in front of people, like acting, on TV, in advertising, or selling artistic things. They're so lively and love getting attention, which makes them great in public roles. But for a thoracic, routine kills them slowly. They should stay away from jobs that are the same every single day, and they should never work alone. They need lots of excitement and people around them. Then there are the strong musculars, the workers. These people are really good with things. Think mechanics, construction workers, engineers, or people who drive big machines. Any job that uses their strength and skill. They love working with things he can handle, mold, change, construct, and improve with his powerful, efficient hands. Their strength makes them amazing workers or athletes. But they need to avoid jobs that keep them stuck in small spaces or make them sit still all day. A muscular has to do stuff. Our fourth type, the steady osseous, the stayers, are also good with things, but in a different way. They do well with land, money, or complex machines. They especially like jobs where they can work alone and focus. Think pioneers, farmers, bankers, or statisticians. They do great when they can work away from the interference or interruption or superintendence of other people. Their weak spot? They need to avoid constant or intimate contact with large numbers of people, and any work that needs instantaneous movements, sudden adaptations, or many or sudden decisions. This type likes things slow, steady, and predictable for a long time. Finally, we have the smart cerebrals, the thinkers. Their world is all about ideas. Jobs like teaching, writing, philosophy, inventing, journalism, and science are perfect for them. Their big brains just want to think, imagine, and plan. They're the ones who come up with new ideas and make things better. But cerebrals are terrible at manual labor or running a business. They should avoid every kind of work that calls for manual or bodily effort, physical strenuosity, lifting of heavy things, or the handling of large machines. They're not very practical. Their talent is in thinking, not physical work or daily business. So the point isn't just to get a job. It's to find something that fits your natural skills for life. When your job fits you, it's not just about money. It gives you endless satisfaction, and the work itself makes you happy. This will lead you to feel good about your life and truly stand out.